Here's one of my favorite sayings: if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. Now, I first heard this from my father-in-law. He used to call me on the phone. I'd answer the phone. He would say something like this, and then he'd go on for about 10 minutes about why this was true. He was kind of at the end of his career, and he was looking back and trying to figure out what it was that made him successful, and he would hear sayings like this, and he would say, yep, that's right. That's exactly what happened to me. So when I met him, he was already successful, but he didn't start out that way. Here's his story. Gets married during World War II, goes overseas with his unit. He's over there till the end of the war, comes back after the war, reconnects with his wife, settles down, and starts looking for a job to try to make a living. So things don't go too well. He can't find the right job, it's not the right fit, or he has a job for a while, he loses the job. Things kind of go from bad to worse to the point where he and his wife have to move back in with his wife's family. So he continues to look for a job after that. He's not feeling too good about himself. Then one day he gets a job in a machine shop working on a honing machine. He realizes right away that he's good at it, and he kind of sees the whole picture of the thing. Even though maybe you only get a few cents or even a penny per part, if you're fast and accurate at it, you can make a good living at this. And he sees that whole picture of the thing. So he borrows some money, buys his own machine, rents out a little corner in the machine shop where he's working, starts bringing in some business of his own. The machine shop owner does him some favors and puts some business his way, and that's how he gets started. When I met him, he owned 3 buildings in Southgate, California, had 20 people working for him, had a very successful machine shop business. People from all over the country would send their parts to him because they knew that they would get a good price, the work would be accurate, and he would stand behind it. So he was a role model for me. I looked up to him. When he would say things like this to me, I would try to apply it to myself in trying to be successful myself. So he was a role model. And so the way he explained it to me was like this. Even though there was a particular time in his life when he was struggling to find what it was he was going to do for a career, and he was having a lot of setbacks, he still had the feeling that there was something out there for him, that things were going to somehow work out, and he didn't want to give up until he found out what that was. Now, it doesn't mean that he didn't get down on himself from time to time. Of course he did. But the overall foundation of what he was working with was the idea that things were going to work out. Now, what's the flip side of that? Well, it's something that I see in my students from time to time. I will occasionally have students who, every time they have a setback, they kind of treat it as evidence that things in general are not working out. It's almost as if they're trying to prove that things aren't going to work out for themselves. Now, for myself, I'm lucky. I had role models in my life, successful people like my father-in-law, who were willing to share with me the things that made them successful. So when it comes to sayings like this, I would take it to heart, and I would think, you know, I want to try to be in this category right here. I want to think that things are going to work out. Now, you could be watching this video and maybe things aren't going too well for you. Maybe you're taking a math class and you don't even know how you're going to finish this math class, let alone finish school. Now, I know that this is just a saying right here, and it's not going to make any difference to somebody that's really having a difficult time. I just want to leave open the possibility that maybe it's also true that you're on your way to becoming a role model for somebody that you haven't met yet, in the same way that my father-in-law was when he was struggling after the war to find a job, was actually on his way to becoming a role model for me, someone that he would meet later in his life. Now, if that turns out to be true, and you meet all your goals, and you end up successful, and you look back to this particular time in your life, I think you'll find that it will also be true that somehow you aligned yourself with the thinking behind sayings like this. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right.